But Wonhe Multimedia is a Chinese technology company that manufactures domestic and commercial wireless internet routers, and now it's planning to list here on the ASX. With businesses increasingly relying on free Wi-Fi to improve customer experiences, Wonhe believes its products will provide a much-needed boost for retailers across Asia. For more on the company and the ASX listing, our reporter Jade Kotick spoke with the company's lead broker for the float, Michael Beer.
Wonhe manufactures high technology IT products, particularly a desktop set and routers. Routers are used in your home and my home and in large commercial operations.
Okay, Michael, and why are you listing on the ASX?
Question, Jade. The ASX is really important because it's a blue chip market. This company could have listed in Hong Kong, or they could have listed in Singapore. Shanghai is really off limits at the moment because of the challenges in China at the moment. But Australia is seen by Chinese companies as being a preeminent market, and I think it just reflects one of those links between China and Australia.
And is that the reason you're listing on the ASX compared to overseas markets like the Shanghai Composite?
Well, certainly the governance issues of ASX are very strong. I mean, to be listing on ASX, there's a very strong due diligence process. So anybody that can get a listing on ASX has actually gone through a fairly rigorous process. And Wonhe has certainly done that.
Would you ever consider a listing on the Shanghai?
No, and in fact the reason for listing on the ASX is because this company needs a big blue chip listing to be able to win big contracts either from state-owned enterprises, SOEs, or from government itself. So they have to have a listing of the ilk of the ASX to be able to sort of grow their business.
Now just back to your products, how much revenue is actually generated out of Australia?
The answer is nothing at the moment. China, as you know, is the biggest country in the world in terms of population, 1.4 billion people, and there's 24 million in Australia. This company is headquartered in Shenzhen, where there's 30 million people, so there's more people in Shenzhen where this company is than in Australia as a whole. So the market is just many times bigger in China, and that's why their focus will stay in China for the moment.
And Michael, will there be a headquarters here in Australia, in Melbourne?
There are Australian directors of the company, so there's certainly going to be a Wonhe office in Melbourne. One of my colleagues, Frank Canavo, is on the board, and Raymond Lim is another director in Sydney. They're both they're both Australians, so there very much will be an Australian focus.
Right. So my next question is, how Australian is this company?
Well, the listing, obviously, and we're not the only Chinese company listing in Australia, of course. There have been a number, including XPD Sports Gear, which listed very successfully in May this year. So it's not as if this is particularly unusual, in fact. I think you'll see more and more Chinese companies wanting that blue chip listing and coming to Australia.
And with the capital raising, what are you planning to use funds for?
Well, that's an interesting question. This group of companies, the Wonhe Group, already has over $50 million in a Chinese subsidiary, and we're raising $4 million here, and we're confident of raising that $4 million. Those funds will simply be added to the pool of funds for the company to develop their product, which is this router, which is going to be rolled out, they hope, they intend to roll it out in big cities in China.
And outside of China, what other countries are you supplying to?
Well, again, there is no need to be supplying any other company. This is a small company. Market cap will be around about $30 million on listing, so it's not your BHP. It's a small company. The market opportunity in China is massive. The opportunities in China for technology companies is massive. The internet is a really important thing that government is wanting to sort of build on for the masses in China.
And apart from those directors being based here in Melbourne, will there be any other opportunities for jobs in Australia?
Not initially, and we've certainly talked to Wonhe and their Chinese directors about the interest in Australia. They say if a distributor was interested in Australia, they would certainly look at that with interest. But again, it's back to the economics of the business. The business is making money already. It's a consistent profit maker in China now, and with a listing in Australia, that will enable it to actually win much bigger contracts in China, which will make a lot more profit.
Thanks for your company on Asia Pacific Outlook. Stay with us. We've got more news.